My mistakes have been put on the public stage. Other people's mistakes aren't. And there are many things that are good, but good news doesn't sell papers, and bad Fergie sells.
Now it's payback time. Meghan and Fergie are both exactly the same. People say, oh, Fergie never talked bad about the royal family, because Fergie was literally blackmailing the royal family, because Fergie has been part of the shady deals that Andrew has done and some of King Charles.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor turned 66. And instead of candles and cake, unmarked vehicles rolled onto the Sandringham estate, heading straight toward Royal Lodge. Reports say searches were carried out, doors opened, and the situation escalated fast.
Britain's former Prince Andrew.
The reports are that Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested.
Really never thought we'd see anything like this. There are currently 2 teams of police on the King's estate, searching the King's property.
Even more shocking, the King refused to refer to him as his brother in any public statement, using only his full formal name. That kind of distance speaks loud without saying much at all. Every channel on this platform is locked onto that headline right now. But the part almost nobody is digging into is about the woman who quietly vanished from view. When pressure started building and questions got louder, Sarah Ferguson disappeared from public life. Since September, no appearances, no events, nothing. Her business ventures are closing one after another. Her charity ties are fading, and somewhere overseas, she's reportedly sitting on information that could shake the entire royal system if it ever came out. That's where the real tension lives, and the timeline goes back 34 years to a balcony in the south of France. Here's what we know so far. On February 19th, 6 unmarked vehicles arrived at Wood Farm on the Sandringham grounds. A team of officials approached the residence, and Andrew was taken in for questioning related to alleged misconduct connected to his time as a trade envoy.
Many people in this world are lost. It's excruciating to live with past mistakes. It is so difficult. I always would like to change so many things in my past, but I can't. I've got to move forward, and it's very difficult to go back over them.
The potential legal consequences being discussed are extremely serious. The kind that could change the rest of a person's life completely. Let that sink in for a second. The situation followed newly surfaced documents claiming he may have shared restricted trade information during his government role. Then came the public statement from King Charles, and the wording stood out immediately. Not my brother, just Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. That's not random phrasing. That's a very clear signal to the world that personal ties are being cut loose in real time. But the headlines only show the surface layer. Underneath all of this, several lives shifted overnight, and one woman may have sensed trouble long before anyone else did. So where is Sarah Ferguson right now? That question doesn't have a clear answer. The last confirmed public sighting was September 2025. After that, reports placed her in the French Alps, then the UAE, later Doha in Qatar. Moving locations, no fixed base, no statements.
Our next guest has a long history with the royal family. Piers Morgan has met Andrew, knows his ex-wife Fergie, and their daughter as well. He joins us now on the phone. Hey, Piers, did you ever think it would come to this?
You know, I was beginning to fear it might, but when it actually happens, it is an absolute bombshell. I mean, to put this into context, there has been no member of the royal family arrested in my lifetime. I'm 60 years old.
And when this crisis hit Andrew, she wasn't beside him. Think about that for a moment. This is someone who stayed close to her former husband for nearly 2 decades after their divorce, through every controversy, every headline, every wave of criticism. Suddenly, during the biggest storm yet, she's nowhere around. That shift alone raised eyebrows, but the timing makes it even more intense. Between February 13th and 16th, just days before everything exploded, all 6 companies where she was listed as the sole director filed paperwork to shut down. Every single one. Her charity, Sarah's Trust, announced closure. Several organizations removed her from honorary roles. In a matter of days, her professional world was wiped clean. When someone dismantles their life structure that quickly, the question isn't what happened. It's what they believe is coming next. And the newly released documents didn't just focus on Andrew. Messages referenced Ferguson visiting a controversial financier in Miami shortly after his release from custody years ago. In one message, she described him as a legend and the brother she always wished for. She also reportedly asked about work opportunities, saying she needed financial stability. A source summarized her position bluntly: she was a useful person who offered access to Andrew, nothing more. That description alone adds another layer to the story. If you're watching this and you remember the summer of 1992, then you already know this saga didn't start recently. The roots go way back, and what's unfolding now may just be the delayed fallout finally catching up. August, a private villa in Saint-Tropez, a photographer with a powerful zoom lens and a set of images that shattered whatever stability Sarah Ferguson still had inside royal circles. The photos showed Fergie alongside her financial advisor, John Bryan, in a moment that no amount of palace spin could soften. To make the situation even more uncomfortable, other family members were staying at the same location at the time, which only intensified the fallout once those images exploded across front pages worldwide. She had been staying with the extended royal family during that holiday. When the newspapers landed, the reaction inside the household was reportedly ice cold. One story claims Prince Philip placed the paper directly in front of her at breakfast without saying a word. Princess Margaret later wrote to her, and one line stuck in public memory. She said Fergie had done more to bring shame on the family than could ever have been imagined. That's heavy language, and it shows how deep the disappointment ran. The Queen would later describe 1992 as her annus horribilis, and not long after, Fergie was pushed out of the inner circle. But here's the pattern almost nobody connects clearly. 1992, the villa photos. 2010, the cash for access scandal, when Fergie was filmed offering introductions to Andrew for large sums of money and accepting cash during a meeting. 2019, Andrew's widely criticized television interview. 2022, a confidential legal settlement. And now 2026, the crisis that's dominating headlines today. That's 34 years, same names, same orbit, just different chapters of a story that keeps repeating itself whether people want to acknowledge it or not. After decades of controversy stacked one on top of another, embarrassment after embarrassment, it raises a serious question. Did Fergie and Andrew ever truly separate emotionally? Or was the divorce mostly paperwork while they continued operating as a team behind the scenes? Because time after time, when one faced trouble, the other was never far from the center of it. Right in the middle of all this are two women who never signed up for any of it.
Well, we were on holiday. I had tried to make sure that the place that we chose was very discreet. It was in 7 acres of property in the south of France, and we were playing games, and one of the games wound up being sort of Cinderella, and Cinderella with the shoes and the toes and everything else that took place was just a fun child's game.
Beatrice and Eugenie spent their adult lives trying to build identities separate from the chaos surrounding their parents. Beatrice launched business ventures. Eugenie built a career in the art world. Both married, both focused on their own families, and both, according to multiple insiders, felt duped. That's the exact word sources used because their father had reassured them repeatedly over the years that there was nothing to worry about. The same reassurance he gave to other family members too. But their reactions now couldn't look more different. Beatrice has remained in contact. She was seen riding horses with Andrew not long before the latest headlines erupted and has continued including him in certain private family moments. Insiders describe her approach as quiet damage control, staying close, staying calm, avoiding public attention while keeping life steady in the countryside.
Your family need to distance themselves from this man, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it does seem that he doesn't care two hoots about the country, about the royal family, about what they're doing, and about him being a part of this. And it's not necessarily because he hasn't got a job now, because that's his fault, but actually to make people feel that how you're behaving is absolutely disgusting makes a big difference.
Eugenie, on the other hand, reportedly moved in the opposite direction. Sources claim communication has stopped completely. No calls, no visits, nothing. One insider compared it to a total family split, the kind where contact just ends overnight. And there may be deeper reasons than frustration alone. Eugenie co-founded the Anti-Slavery Collective, an organization focused on fighting exploitation and abuse in vulnerable communities. The contrast between her public mission and the controversies surrounding people once connected to her father hasn't gone unnoticed by observers. What's even more striking is that insiders say both daughters are not only upset with their father, they're also disappointed by their mother's past decisions. Messages that resurfaced in reports, including Fergie praising a controversial figure as a legend, were seen by them just like everyone else. Private history suddenly became public reading material for the entire world. And that kind of exposure changes family dynamics forever. Imagine discovering your own mother wrote words like that while you were out there trying to build a life far away from headlines exactly like these. That kind of realization doesn't just sting, it changes how you see everything. For decades, Sarah Ferguson positioned herself as the one pushed aside, the one treated unfairly, the one left out in the cold. That poor Fergie storyline stuck in public memory. But the villa scandal, the access controversy, the financial struggles, those weren't random events falling from the sky.
No sympathy for this lying grifter. She has shown her true colours. She is an utter disgrace. She is an embarrassment to the monarchy.
Those were choices. And at some point, the story stops being about what happened to someone and starts being about what someone decided to do. And now, the consequences of those decisions are rippling outward, affecting people closest to her in ways that can't be undone. Reputations get tangled together, opportunities shift, and private history suddenly becomes public conversation. That's the part that hits hardest, because it's not just about one person anymore. It's about everyone connected to the situation. Then there's another twist that makes this even more complicated, because Sarah Ferguson and Meghan Markle actually share more similarities than most people realize.
Her parents were very extravagant, lived beyond their means, were in debt. I wouldn't quite say social climbers, but they were networkers and pretty ruthless and pretty promiscuous. So she didn't have a great sort of background to come.
When Prince Harry first brought Meghan into royal circles, it was Ferguson who reportedly helped her understand certain traditions. Harry himself described how she demonstrated a curtsy before Meghan met the Queen, showing her exactly what to do. Meghan followed her lead. That means her earliest step into royal life was guided by someone the institution had spent years trying to distance itself from. The irony there is impossible to ignore. The parallels keep stacking up. Both married the second sons. Both were labeled outsiders by media coverage. Both clashed with royal expectations. Both stepped away from official roles. And both moved toward media and business projects afterward. Books, television appearances, brand partnerships. One royal commentator even said Meghan's post-royal strategy mirrors Ferguson's playbook almost exactly.
Sarah Ferguson attended Tom Inskip's wedding in Jamaica in 2017. Meghan Markle was flown in private plane, allegedly belonging to Rob Burkle. Harry flew economy plus from the United Kingdom to Jamaica. And Fergie, Eugenie, and allegedly Andrew were at that wedding.
Ferguson herself said in 2019 that she related to Meghan and understood the pressure. But a few years later, the tone shifted. Suddenly, she barely knew her. Funny how narratives change when circumstances do. There's also the lingering yacht question that has followed both names in different ways. Ferguson's South of France scandal became permanent tabloid history, while online rumors about Meghan's earlier social circles have circulated for years without confirmation. Those claims about Meghan remain unproven, and that's important to say clearly. But public perception doesn't always wait for proof before forming connections. And Ferguson's past only makes those comparisons louder in people's minds. Even family friendships that once looked solid have reportedly cooled. Eugenie was once considered Harry's closest relative within the royal circle, spending time with him and Meghan early on. But insiders now suggest those connections have faded, with loyalties settling firmly on opposite sides. Relationships that once seemed unbreakable can change fast when pressure builds. And Meghan, someone who spoke openly for years about not feeling supported by the institution, has been noticeably quiet about Andrew's current crisis. You might expect a reaction, but instead there's silence. And silence can be strategic too. When attention is focused somewhere else, staying quiet can keep your own headlines from resurfacing. That kind of timing rarely happens by accident.
This isn't the first scandal that she's weathered in the last 30 years. So I was surprised in some ways that she has survived as long as she has, both in terms of her endorsements and commercial appeal and in terms of the work she does with charity.
Royal biographer Tom Bower, who has written extensively about both the Sussexes and the royal family, didn't hold back. He described Andrew as a congenital liar and argued he should be permanently removed from royal life. Strong words. And they add even more heat to a situation that was already intense. What makes this situation even more explosive is how quickly the inner circle shifted once the headlines hit. The palace didn't rush to defend, didn't soften the narrative, didn't create distance quietly behind the scenes. It happened right out in the open. Statements were formal, cold, and carefully worded, especially from King Charles III, who made it clear that institutional stability came first. That kind of response sends a message louder than any speech ever could. For Prince Andrew, the timing couldn't be worse. Financial pressure, reputation damage, and public scrutiny all collided at once. Long-standing questions about money, connections, and past decisions suddenly came rushing back into focus.
Her man serves certain purpose. Does that sound familiar? Fergie saying, oh, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. Why? Because now she no longer has the use of the type.
When multiple issues stack together like that, it stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like a pattern people can't ignore anymore. And once the public decides there's a pattern, changing that perception becomes almost impossible. Meanwhile, the silence from Sarah Ferguson keeps getting louder by the day. No appearances, no interviews, no attempts to reshape the narrative, just distance. Some insiders believe that distance isn't random at all. One source reportedly said, when someone steps back this far this fast, it's usually because they know more chapters are coming. That idea alone is enough to keep speculation running nonstop. Inside royal circles, there's also the bigger concern: long-term reputation. Institutions built on tradition depend heavily on public trust, and moments like this test that foundation in real time. Advisors are said to be focused on containment, limiting damage, reinforcing boundaries, and making sure the wider structure stays intact no matter what happens to individuals. It's less about one person now and more about protecting the brand itself, which shows just how serious the situation has become. And then there's the emotional fallout that never makes headlines. Relationships change under pressure. Loyalties shift. Conversations happen behind closed doors that never reach the public.
The more you know Sarah Ferguson, the more you realize actually what a villain she is.
One insider described the atmosphere simply: it's tense, it's uncertain, and nobody knows where this ends. That kind of uncertainty spreads fast, especially when the stakes involve legacy, reputation, and decades of history all tied together. What's clear is that this story isn't slowing down anytime soon. New details, old connections, and unresolved questions are all moving at the same time, creating a situation that feels bigger than any single headline. When history, personal choices, and public perception collide like this, the outcome rarely stays contained. And everyone involved knows it. Bauer warned that there may be far more damaging information still waiting to surface, and that possibility alone has people on edge. Andrew Loney, who spent years pushing for access to Andrew's trade records, didn't hold back either. He called him a complete narcissist who views himself as the victim in all of this. That description paints a picture of someone who refuses to accept responsibility, even when pressure keeps building from every direction. According to Loney, senior family members, including William and Catherine, had formed their own opinions about Andrew years ago. Within private circles, he was reportedly seen as more of a liability than an asset. When insiders start using words like that, it shows the concerns weren't sudden. They had been growing quietly for a long time. Paul Burrell, who once worked closely inside palace life and understands how the system operates, described Andrew as entitled and pompous, but his bigger warning was more unsettling. He suggested Andrew had gone rogue, and that what the public has seen so far may only be part of the full picture. That kind of statement adds another layer of uncertainty to an already volatile situation. Royal historian Ed Owens went even further, calling this the most serious challenge for the monarchy since the abdication crisis of 1936. That's not casual commentary. Coming from a historian, it's closer to a professional judgment. Comparing any modern situation to that era signals just how high the stakes are perceived to be right now. And that leads directly to the question nobody inside the palace seems eager to say out loud. If Sarah Ferguson has no official residence tied to the institution, no active companies, no charity platform, limited titles, and decades of private knowledge stored in her memory.
Fergie's going to do is just gonna blow his father, Camilla, Catherine, and William, because she blames Prince William and Princess Catherine for her misfortunes. She doesn't blame herself, or she doesn't take any accountability for the fact that it is her behavior that got her ousted.
What exactly is stopping her from speaking publicly? Because the biggest risk may not be Andrew's situation at all. It may be what she could choose to reveal. One analyst put it bluntly: Fergie could sell her story to the highest bidder. She knows the history, the dynamics, the conflicts, and the private moments that never reached headlines. Information like that carries enormous value in the media world, and everyone knows it. Reports also suggest major changes to her living situation. Andrew left Royal Lodge earlier in the month, and she has reportedly been told to secure her own accommodation. Sources describe uncertainty around where she will settle long term. For someone who spent years in a massive estate inside Windsor Great Park, the shift to potentially staying in a smaller space connected to family property is a dramatic contrast. That kind of change highlights just how much circumstances can flip. And here's what makes it even more intense. A person who feels they have nothing left to protect often becomes unpredictable. Ferguson witnessed decades of royal life up close. The highs, the conflicts, the private tensions, the public crises. She saw relationships fracture, alliances shift, and the institution protect itself during storms. That level of first-hand perspective is rare, and it carries weight. Every publisher, every streaming company, every major outlet would pay serious money for a detailed insider account. The monarchy's biggest concern right now may not be Andrew answering difficult questions. It may be Ferguson somewhere out of sight with a phone that media executives would love to see light up. Silence like that isn't empty. It's loaded with possibility. Andrew's birthday ended up marked by turmoil, but the development the institution likely feared most isn't an event. It's the quiet from someone who knows the full history and may no longer feel obligated to keep it private. Ferguson knows people are watching. Beatrice and Eugenie are caught in the fallout, and the system that spent decades managing problems behind closed doors may finally be running out of room to maneuver. Some families unravel slowly across generations. The York story feels like it compressed decades of tension into a single lifetime. The only real question now is what happens next, and who decides to make the next move. If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.